All right, guys. Thanks for being with us again on Sunday. It's another Norvise Facebook Live. Got a couple of steelhead swing bugs that we're going to tie tonight. We're in the middle of our spring steelhead season, so obviously we're tying a lot of steelhead flies. Basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie um, a. It's a fairly simple swing bug. It's kind of based off the artificial intelligence platform, but a little quicker tie, I think. But I'm going to use two materials that are new to me and not something that you see every day. And we're going to get into that in a second. First thing I want to say,
It turns out every star they send is a penny that we get. So we're getting like $1.50 when they're sending 150 stars. They're spending the money and it's sending it to us.
well, how do we get it?
I don't know.
Well, daggum, I want my $1.50.
We'll buy a cup of coffee with it. With the $5 from last week too.
Yeah. Uh-oh. What is Brittany texting me? Oh, I don't know. There's stars things that are popping up under the live feed. I don't know. It must be something new Facebook's
I
doing.
don't know.
So
Brittany gave us $1.50.
$1.50. All right.
You know what? If everyone on here gives us $1.50,
Woo.
it's-
So tonight's episode is sponsored by Alpaca Rod and Fly. They're up there in Brewer, Maine. They've sponsored our live events several times before. 207-299-6336. Facebook at Alpaca Rod and Fly. What Don is doing this week, he's giving away a $50 gift certificate for every 50 shares. So share early, share often, and we will pick the winners just like we normally do for the net gaiters and stripping guards. But we'll give you a $50 gift certificate. So I'll put a code in the website specific to you. And the next time that you place an order, you punch your code in and you'll get $50 off your order. So that is courtesy of Don Corey up at Alpaca Rod and Fly. And drop him a line and say thank you. And, share early, share often, and hopefully you'll get some money off your next order. All right, so I said earlier I'm basically going to tie the same pattern twice, but I'm going to use two different materials. So this is what we're going to tie. It's a very nondescript steelhead kind of swing bug, okay, and it's kind of built off the artificial intelligence platform. It's a Greg Senyu pattern. Some of the materials I've taken out just to be able to make it tie faster. Now, typically, I would tie this pattern in Arctic Fox, which it would look similar to that right there. And I've been playing around with some new materials. And whenever I'm working with new stuff, I always like to take a pattern that I'm very, very familiar with when I'm working with a new material, so that way I don't have to worry about the pattern and how I'm tying it. I just have to work the new materials into the mix. So the first one is a material, and a friend of ours named Jim Bensinger owns this company, and this is alpaca hair. Okay, the name of the company is Fiberflies Dubbing, and I believe it's fiberfliesdubbing.com. He's got a website, and you can go in there. These are called Paca tips. So basically, what it is, it's a little square. That's the hide. So it's a little square piece of hide with this alpaca fur on it, and it's kind of a cool material. It's similar to Arctic Fox. I think it's maybe a little finer. It definitely feels lighter in the hand, probably closer to like Icelandic sheep as opposed to Arctic Fox, but it's a cool material. It comes in these. These are called alpaca tips, and he's got a bunch of different colors. I just pulled two out real quick. And I think Tyler's posting the website up on the.
I just posted it.
He's posting it up in the comments now, and you brush it out, and it makes this really cool, like full-bodied hair, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. So that's the one material that we're going to tie with, and then we're going to tie the same pattern a second time, and we're going to use this, which was given to me, and I didn't see him. I don't know if he's on here yet, but our buddy Patrick Robinson from Steelhead Alley Outfitters. This is badger hair. This is actually a piece of hair from a badger that he had trapped. It's tanned and processed, but it's cool. It's a cool looking hair. It's got a lot of really cool colorations to it. So So it's we're going to give it a try. I did a couple of test ties. The alpaca hair tied great. The badger was a little challenging, so I'm going to make a couple of adjustments here, and we're going to see how it goes. These are both going to be single station flies tied on a shank, so I'm using a 20 millimeter Aqua Flies shank that are available on. That's your cue.
Oh, me?
Yeah, that are available on.
O'NeillsFlyFishing.com.
There you go.
I'll be posting the link in the comments.
Stick with us. He's a little slow tonight, guys.
I got a microchip implanted in my arm yesterday, and it has messed me up today.
All right, and this is a size 20 millimeter shank we're going to be using for this first fly. Vivus 6/0. What is it? Power thread or super thread or something like that they call it. It's a good thread. So go ahead and switch to the other camera, if you would.
Small camera.
You need to move it.
You can tie. It's like
Okay.
putting down a thread base.
Yep. All right, so we've tied on, and I'm just going to lay down a quick thread base, not quite back to the jaws. Now remember, when we're tying stinger type flies, very, very important that you put your loop in. So this is, and that is not long enough. This is, I believe, 60-pound fire line. It comes in the kit that Aqua Flies sells. So you get the hooks, the shanks, and the and a little amount of fire line to make your loop. So we'll go a couple of loose wraps on here, and then I'll just take and I'll kind of manipulate this around so it's up on the top of the hook shank. And then you can see I've got a mark on the top of my jaws. These are the new shank jaws that I'm tying with today, and I've got a Sharpie mark on there, and I'll just use that to set my length. Now again, it's important the size of this loop. If you're putting the hook on afterwards, the loop has to be big enough to get the entire hook through it. So if you take this loop and you shorten it up like that, you're not going to be able to get your hook on. So you can put the hook on first, and you can tie this on. I don't tend to do it that way. I know a lot of guys do. I don't tend to do it that way because I like to be able to change the hook on these type of flies, and I like to be able to, if I roll the point, to just put a new hook on, or I can change it to ride hook point up or hook point down, depending on the tip that I'm using when I'm casting this on one of my two-hand rods. So now I'm just going to spiral this up, just loose wraps, to get it latched down onto the shank of the hook. Now I'll take these tag ends, and let me get a little bit closer to that eye. Take these tag ends, and I'm going to fold them back, and I'm going to do loose wraps right over top, back to about here, and I'm going to clip this off. And I'll tell you what, this fire line, this 60-pound fire line, is tough to clip. This is some tough stuff. I have no doubt that, and I could have done myself a favor and left it a little longer. I'll get it, folks, trust me. Okay, you want to be that way about it. Good Lord. Okay, so you want to be that way about it. Trust me, it is going to come off of there. There we go. Man. All right. And then I'll take just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. Don't need a lot. There you go. And then we'll wrap this back. And then I'll just spin the vise and lay down a nice thread base over top of that. And at this point, that connection's not going anywhere. Take finger, wipe the excess off. Throw in a half hitch. We'll go up on the bobbin cradle. Now, first material we're going to put on the hook is Senyo's Laser Dub. This is in red. This is basically for, it just gives it a little hot spot, or it gives it kind of an underlying gill effect after the when the fly gets wet. This will kind of show through. So we're just going to tease this out. And we'll spin the vise, touch the dubbing to the thread, and roll it right up on there like so. And I'll tighten it up, spin it up a little bit, reach under here, take my bobbin off the cradle, and then basically I just want to put a dubbing ball right here at the back of the I don't want this to kind of to really go up the shank of the hook. I just want to create a ball of dubbing back here, which is about right there. A couple wraps on there, and then I can take my little Velcro piece and just brush it out a little bit. Sometimes you'll see people do this step in a dubbing loop, so you get longer fibers that veil back. For this particular pattern, I don't think that's necessary. I'm just looking for a little accent under the fly. Okay, so now I have some medium gold bead chain eyes, and I've got 4 of them. So typically when you do bead chain eyes on like a clouser, you would cut 2, but I've cut 4. So we're going to tie them in the middle. So you're going to have two eyes hanging off of one side of the shank and 2 eyes hanging off the other side of the shank. And you want these to be about 1/3 back from between the eye of the hook and the or the eye of the shank and the end of the shank. So if you divide the shank into thirds, you want this to be about 1/3. And we're going to X them in, and then I'll just kind of look on the end of the look over here just to make sure that they're level, and then we'll just go 3 and 3, and I do that 3 times. Okay, and then I'll come in here, just a little bit of glue. Put that on.
So guys, remember, if you're sharing this post, comment that you shared it, because depending on your profile settings, we won't be able to see it. So if your profile won't show us and you don't comment, we can't put your name in the drawing to win these gift cards.
Yep. Yeah, we had that issue a couple weeks ago with one of the guys shared when we did the spinning wheel, and his name wasn't on the wheel, but his settings were set to private. So, and he didn't comment that he had shared, so we had no idea of knowing that he had done that. So, all right, now we're going to get our thread back to the back. So we've got our loop tied on for our hook. We've got our red accent gill color, so to speak, and we've got our eyes on. Okay, and now we are going to, there it is. This is, I'm looking for the bag here.
The comments are blowing up with shared now.
Shared,
Sean
yeah, right.
Says, does the bead chain make it right upside down?
No, and actually somebody would notice that. I should have put the bead chain on the underside of the hook shank. For this pattern, it's not going to flip. When I put the wing on, the wing will overpower these. There's not a ton of weight here on the beads, but Sean is correct. These should have been tied on the underside of the shank. So thank you for pointing that out. I was hoping nobody was going to notice, and I was just going to go on and tie the pattern. But
Patrick Robinson's on.
Okay. So this next material is medium Polymer chenille in pearl. Okay. It's a cool material. It's got a core, and what I like about it is the material only comes off of one side. Okay, so when you're palmering or you're building like underbodies, it wraps nice and even, and it lays down a nice smooth underbody. So medium, and they make this in several different sizes, and when I say sizes, they have a small, medium, and large, and that depends on how long the fibers are from the core, how long the tip of the fiber is. So let me get this unspun here. Okay. And we will cut them off. And I just cut a little bit off just so I have a little bit of bare core to tie on, and that looks a little funky, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to do it again. There we go. So I just cut some of the material off of here just so I have some just a section of bare core to tie in. And we'll tie that in, and we'll come right up here behind the eyes, and we'll throw a half hitch. And when you're doing this, you got to get the half hitch over both sets of eyes, so you got to make a pretty big loop. And we'll go on to our cradle. I'm going to take this material and I'm just going to start wrapping it, and this is why I like the material, the types of material for this application that only have the material coming off of one side, because if you get it on there and you get it to lay right, you typically don't have to stroke them back, and you can just lay your wraps right next to one another and just walk it right up the shank of the hook to just behind the eyes, and it builds a, put another wrap on there, take one off, builds a really nice easy underbody for these type of flies. Okay, let me come in here and just snip that off. There we go. And we'll take our brush and just brush it out. Like I say, usually this stuff lays pretty good. And that's our underbody. And you can see that red dubbing ball that's under there. And we're going to put a wing and then another dubbing loop and then a material on the front. But that, when this thing gets wet and is in the water, that red dubbing under there will shine through this flash in the wing and the other loop. And it just gives it the appearance of gills or the appearance of a hot spot. And for predator fish, red is always a good color to have. So, all right. So here is our Alpaca tip in white, and I'm just going to take, we've got a flea brush, or the brush like you brush your dog and cat, and I'm just going to take and brush this stuff out. And when you get it, it's kind of like matted up, and I'm sure the shipping and processing process has something to do that. So when you brush it out, it at least on this white one, it gets really long. I mean, these are a good 4.5 to 5 inches long. So it's a nice long fiber, and a little bit goes a long way. So I'm going to pull out a little bit here, about, maybe a little much, but about this much. Okay. And we're going to clip it off. And you do get some stragglers out here that are kind of long. I want to, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to be somewhat even here on the tips. And there's not, at least in this piece, there's not a lot of underfur in this stuff, so you don't have to pull a bunch of it out. Okay, and then we're just going to lay that right on top, and that's going to be our wing right there. Yeah, that stuff's really got a little bit too much. It's got a lot of body to it. Yeah, I like that. So I'm measuring up my length here, which is about right there. You get a lot with this without a ton of bulk in like your tie-in spot. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. So let me advance this thread back to where I tied the polar chenille in. And then I can, a couple of wraps, and I can manipulate that. And then what I want to do, I want to take my finger and I want to push down, and I want to try to distribute this wing, kind of squish it down on the top of the fly, and get it distributed around the top, say 180 degrees of the fly. And you can see how this wing, it's big, and it's a nice full wing, but when you tie this stuff in, it compresses down and you get a nice compact tie-in spot. So it's a really cool material. Okay, so now we're going to do a dubbing loop, and I'm going to put this alpaca hair in a dubbing loop. So we're going to make a dubbing loop just like we would normally do. That's a little big. And we'll go 3-round loop. Back up. And I'll just hang this. I can actually put it in my material clip to get it out of the way. And we'll throw a half hitch in here. And we will go on to the cradle. So now this is one of the rare times when I'm dubbing that I will use wax. And that's if I'm putting some stuff in a dubbing loop. And this is one of the cool things about tying these intruder patterns. Like I've said before, it's kind of been my theme here lately in the last couple of lives that I've done. And there's not a ton of rules to this. I mean, there's the basic what you have to do, you know, to get the quote unquote intruder platform, but there's a lot of freedom here, and these dubbing loops here can be as easy like we're going to do tonight, or you can put all kinds of stuff in them. And the composite loop is a kind of a popular catchphrase right now, where you know they put all kinds of stuff in them, and they look really cool when you're done. I don't know that it's 100% necessary to get a fishable fly, but they do look cool. So, you know, you can play around with this. You can put flash in it. You can put no flash in it. You can put minimal flash in it. It's
so. What hook do you throw on the back of that?
Okay, I will show you. So this is for this one. It's and these all they come in a kit by Alpaca Fly. So you get the shank, you get the fireline connection, you get the tubing, which you can use, which is right here, if you want to use that to kind of stiffen up or make the connection more rigid. I don't use the tubing, but it's in there. And then they have their own hook, which is called the Talon Hook, and it's a micro barb, almost barbless hook. It's got the perfect bend in it for running on a stinger rig, and it is, what I like about it, it's an offset point hook. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So you can see how the point is bent or offset to the shank by about 10 degrees, and I think that aids in your hookups. Good sturdy hook, and it's a micro barb, so it's not at all hard on the fish. That's a good one. Daiichi makes a good one. I believe they actually call it the Intruder Hook. OPST has a whole line of swing bug type hooks that are really good, and those are the ones that I use. I don't know what I'm saying, but there's a whole bunch of hearts and thumbs up and everything going by.
I don't know.
Alright, so now I'm going to put this, I've got this whole kind of...
I'm going to try and raise it up a little more.
Alright.
You can't see the wing as much. Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Because it's like spongy when I go sit in the wing.
Alright, there we go.
Just don't touch anything.
Yeah, don't touch anything. Okay.
Don't breathe on it.
So I've got...
Push on and hit the camera like 6 times.
I want this part of the loop to come back about halfway over the wing. So I've got this material here, and there's a little bit of flash that's got to come out of there. And I'm going to get this into the dubbing loop. Now I shortened that loop up, and I should have left it longer. And this is a point in the pattern where you want to take your time. Get this stuff in the loop, take a little bit of time, get it manipulated properly, get it set to the right length, get it spread out. And on this pattern, with these double bead chain eyes, I will use a dubbing spinner. You can do it with the vise like you've seen me do before, but sometimes the material will get wrapped up in the eyes, and then it kind of creates a problem getting that stuff out. So on this one, when I'm tying with these double bead chain eyes, I will use a dubbing spinner. So I'm taking, and sometimes you can use your bodkin, and you can come in here and you want to get this stuff kind of evenly distributed. And I'll show it before I spin it. I'll pick it up here so you guys can see it. So that's going to be a little light spot, so I want to pull that in. So I'm trying to get them evenly distributed up and down the loop, and I want them evenly distributed. I don't want it like thick here and thin here. So that's where you take a little bit of time and come in, spread everything out. And if you wanted to put some flash in this, angel hair is a real good flash to put in when you're tying these type of flies. It's light, it doesn't bulk up. Flashaboo is not a good one to put in when you're spinning loops like this. It has a tendency to mat up, and so that some of your finer flashes are a little better. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for in my loop. This is what's going to go on the fly. Now we have to deal with this here, and this is where this can all go to hell in a handbasket. This is one reason why I use wax, and you want a good sharp pair of scissors. And what we're going to do is we're just going to come up here and we're going to very carefully cut what's going to be the back side of this off, and we don't want to move anything in the loop. That's why you need sharp scissors. Get off. There we go. Come off of there. Just like I said, this is a point where you want to take your time. This is where this whole pattern is either made or broken. You also have the option, you can taper this if you want. So when you put the material in, you can taper it front or back if you want a different effect on it. This one is going to be all even. Okay, so now I've got my material in the loop. And I'm going to pinch the loop at the bottom, and I'm going to spin the dubbing twister. And I'm going to spin it 2 or 3 times, and then I'm going to pull down, and what you'll see, it'll twist that stuff right up. Now, we don't want it to mat up on itself like that, so I'm going to twist it, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to very carefully pick this stuff out. And you can use your brush as well. I don't know what that was. Did that thread just break? That was weird. Okay, and then we'll brush it out. Don't think I have enough material in this loop for the space that I left on the fly, but we'll see. Okay, so now we just want to kind of stroke all these back. Okay, so we want all this stuff going out one side of the fly, and I've got a little mat here that I need to deal with. Get that out. Okay. Sometimes you can lick your fingers and kind of pull it back. Alright, and now we're just going to wrap this up. Alright, and then we're going to wrap it. And each wrap, I'm going to stroke it back. Okay. Got a little getting twisted up on itself there. You just got to kind of work this. This is a cool material. It'll give you a really full look to the body of this fly when we're done. There we go. And we're going to try to keep all of this behind the eye if we can. So that's right there. Now I'm going to tie my loop off. So I'll come back in with the auto bobbin, and I'll trap it, and I'll go 3 behind, and we'll go 3 or 4 in front, and I'll come in here and I'll cut this off. Let's put a couple more securing wraps on there just to make sure. Throw a half hitch on it. Okay, now I want to brush this out. So that stuff, when you wrap it, it has a tendency to kind of twist on itself, get matted up. We'll brush it out, brush it forward, and then brush it back. And that gives us our wing and our kind of body with our under flash, and you can see how that red is coming through. Still a little bit there. Okay. Alright, so one more material and we're going to call him good. Any questions at this point? No? Alright, so most of your bait fish patterns, typically if you look at a bait fish in the water, it's as you move from the tail to the head, they generally get a shade or two darker. So it'll be, very, very clear or kind of pearl on the tail, and then as you move forward, the head, because of the eyes and the brain and the mouth and all that, they tend to get a shade or two darker. So we're going to finish this off with this is Spotted Fish Hunter from Nature Spirit, Spotted Guinea, and this is natural white, but it's called natural white, but it's really like a gray color, and it kind of complements the front of this fly really well. So let me find a good one here.
It's like a fishy minnow color.
Mm-hmm. When it's all done, it's going to give it like a gray and white kind of mottled head, which is what they look like.
Have guinea, could you substitute something for that?
You could use you could use hen for it, depending on the size. Yeah, if you had a gray hen cape, I mean that's basically the same shape as a hen feather. You could use that. You could use, in a pinch, you could use schlappen, depending on how big your pattern was. You may have to strip up to the top of the feather because the fibers at the base may be a little bit too long. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you could use. I like this. I like this Spotted Guinea on the front of these patterns. I think it looks cool, and I just think it looks cool. So if I have confidence in the fly, I'm going to fish it better, and if I fish it better, I'm going to catch more fish. So, all right, so we've got the feather prepped. That's our tie-in point. Now I'm going to tie this in. If I can, I want to get 1 or 2 wraps behind the eyes, and then I want to wrap it through the eyes because it gives it, it kind of hides them a little bit. Who's saying what?
Patrick said, "What are you going to try and catch with a fly like this?"
Oh, is that what he said? Gee, Patrick, I don't know.
I bet Patrick's going to be on the business end of the net.
He may be. He may well be. All right, so we've got her tied in. I'm going to throw a half hitch, and that thing wants to walk up in the eye. Okay. All right, and my hackle pliers. And I want to try to get, like I said, I want to try to get at least a wrap or 2 behind the eyes if I can, and then kind of wrap it through. And this can be kind of gnarly to work with, so take your time. Wrap it and then kind of stroke them back and get them started kind of towards the back. There you go. And now I've got 2 wraps behind the eyes, and I want to get these all stroked back. Now I'm going to come underneath the eye, and I'm going to come in front. And I want to get, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 1 wrap behind the eye, and then I'm going to come on the front. There we go. Because I need a little more feather up front. And it gets a little ornery, and that's fine. Let it get ornery. And there we go. Okay, let me move these down just a bit. And now I'm going to come back here with my bobbin, and I'm going to catch that stem underneath, and I'm going to get it 3 times behind, 3 times in front. Now my feather's tied off, and I can come in here, clip that off. Now if I have any that are kind of crossed up or matted or don't look like they're laying the way that they should, and these, after you fish them for a bit, and actually after you catch a couple fish on them, they tend to look a lot better. Now I'm just going to stroke all this back all around the fly, all around the eyes, and then I'm just going to take and I'm going to wrap this back just to about right there, and I'm going to build up a nice little clean head on this dude. And Sorry. On there. Wants to be a little ornery.
So, you want to remind them about reacting to the live feed?
Oh, as far as the heart and the,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So, how many live do we have right now?
92.
92. Okay. So, Facebook they've been messing with the algorithm, and we're not reaching nearly as many people now as we did, say, 3 or 4 months ago. So one thing that really helps us out is the if you click the, and people are doing it now, if you click the blue thumbs up or the heart button, that seems to get the feed out there. They, for lack of a better term, show it to more people if we do that. So if you see something that you think is cool, then click that like or that heart button, or click it 500 times if you want. And that gets us out and lets us see more, lets more people see what we're doing here. So you can see how we've got our wing, and then we've got our head on there. And like I said, when you fish these, you get it wet, that head will kind of calm down a little bit and look a little better. Right now he's got kind of a bad hair day going. And we'll just put a little bit of Solar Res Bone Dry here on the front. And our cats are playing with a toy upstairs. It sounds like a stampede. And we'll spin that to get it distributed. Hit it with the torch. Now you can really see that red showing through.
They can on the video.
They can, okay.
Yeah, the camera can't pick that up.
Okay.
It jacks it all up.
So, and there you go. So it doesn't really have a name, but it's basically a single collar intruder-esh kind of fly. It gives you the kind of the upper wing, which would be the tail, and then it moves forward, and you get that kind of mottled gray. You've got the red underneath to show through like a gill pad, and it's just it's a super easy, super cool swing bug that you can tie that'll catch you steelhead. I'm sure it would catch smallmouth. It'll catch anything that would eat a minnow. So that's basically every fish that swims. So there you go. And that was with these alpaca tips from Fiberflies Dubbing. So good stuff. You should check it out. Our buddy Jim Bensinger, fiberfliesdubbing.com. All right. So remember, sponsor today, Annika Rod and Fly, up in Brewer, Maine, 207-299-6336. For every 50 shares, we're giving away Don's giving away a $50 gift certificate. So when we pick the winners, you'll be contacted. I'll put a code in the website for you. And your next purchase, you'll get $50 off. Okay. Real quick, my wife's birthday is this Thursday. Yes, Thursday, the 31st. Wednesday, the 31st? Wednesday. Okay, I know it's the 31st. I'm just not sure what day it is.
The day after Thursday, the 1st.
Yeah, the day after. We're leaving to go steelhead fishing. So I got the best wife in the world. But for her birthday this year, it's up on Facebook. She's doing a fundraiser for Project Healing Waters. And PHW is a fantastic organization. Nor-vise as a company donates a lot to Project Healing Waters. And if you're not familiar with it, what the broad stroke statement, what the organization does is they take service-connected disabled veterans, be it a physical disable or a mental disablement, and they use fly fishing and fly tying as a means to, I guess I can say, rehabilitate them to kind of deal with their injuries and to kind of reacclimate them into normal everyday life. It is a fantastic organization. The work they do is just unparalleled, and anything that we can do for our military, us at Norvise believe that we should do that. So we donate a ton to them every year. Michelle has chosen to do a fundraiser on her birthday, for her birthday fundraiser on Facebook. If maybe Tyler or if Casey, I know it's on the Norvise Facebook page, but if we could bump that up to the top, if you are so inclined to donate, we would really appreciate it. She's got a goal of, I believe it's $1,000, and the last time I checked, it was sitting at about $650. So we've got a little ways to go before Wednesday. So great organization. I can't say enough about the good work that they do. And if you're in a position and if you're inclined to donate, please do so. All right. So March Madness.
I can't share it.
You can't?
Now. Well, I'm locked in as
okay.
the Nor-vise because we're in a live.
And okay.
I would have to be me or you.
All right. It's on there, and you may have to scroll down a little bit, or if Casey is watching, and I'm not sure if she's on, she can post it up to the top. But it is definitely on the Norvise Facebook page. I shared it on there the other day. So, and if not, we'll get it up to the top at the end of the live. All right. So March Madness. Who would have thought that? 5 weeks now? 5 weeks. 64 tires. We're down to the championship round, and it is the same 2 tires that were in the championship round last year. Jock Scott and Terry Landry. So they advanced through the Final Four. Terry Landry won in blowout fashion against his opponent, and Jock Scott had a bit of a run. And we were on the Norvise Zoom tying last night when the voting ended, and he kept checking in, and he was like, "Oh, I'm up by 20. Oh, I'm up by 14. I'm up by 10." And I think when it was done, he won by 6 votes. So it was a good match between him and Damian Welsh. Damian tied a heck of a fly. And everybody did. Thank you guys. You all did a fantastic job. It's been a great competition so far. Can't wait to see what's going to come out of the bucket tonight. We were taking bets on people were trying to slip me. I think we were up to $125 if I made it deer hair bug, because Terry wants deer hair bug to come out of there so bad, and Jock does not want deer hair to come out so bad. So, without further ado, for the championship round, they're in there. You can see them hopping around. I'm not going to look, and I'm going to draw.
If you pull deer hair, you're going to have to pull like 5 more and show that it's not all deer hair or something.
All right, here we go. Ha ha ha! It couldn't have been a better choice. Everybody's going, what the hell? It's whatever you guys want. Open tie, total freestyle. And they were all blank in there, by the way. So everyone that was in there was blank. Open tie, whatever you guys want to tie. It does have to conform to the rules of the contest. It has to be tied in the spirit of catching a fish. Okay? So, Jock, I know you're going to tie a classic salmon fly. And Terry, I know you're going to do something out of deer hair. So, best, we were joking. I said yesterday, Tyler, you weren't here. I said, if Jock ties the same fly that he tied last year, if he wins again, that's what I said. I said, if he wins again, we won't have to spend any money to switch the logo, because it'll be the same fly for next year.
We just got to change out 2 numbers at that point.
Got to change out the date, yeah. So there you go, guys. Open tie. Whatever you want to tie. Just Terry Landry, laugh out loud. Yeah, last night. They were like, "Are you going to do? Is it going to be open? Is it going to be?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Patrick called out the book over on the bench.
Oh.
He finally got it back. I stole it for like 6
there you
months.
go. Great book. Great book. And for one of these patterns, actually both of these patterns, I had to do a little refresher course because I hadn't tied a artificial intelligence in quite a while. So, okay. So there you go. We talked about the sponsor. We talked about March Madness. Terry and Jock, you have open reins as long as it's tied in the spirit to catch fish. Pictures are due to Casey by 5 o'clock Eastern Thursday. Casey at nor-vise.com. We'll post both of them up on Friday. And by Saturday, we'll know who the 2021 March Madness champion is.
Are we going live on Saturday to announce it?
Who's on next week?
I don't know. I mean, we could do a live from our phone, probably on the Steelhead River, but...
Oh, we'll be fishing.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, you know what? We will go. If we have good enough internet, we'll go live and sometime Saturday night, and we'll post it up, and we'll announce the winner. So good luck to you guys. Can't wait to see what you guys are going to send in. I know they're both going to be great, and at that point, it's going to be up to the voters. So good luck, and give them hell, boys. All right, any questions, or I'm going to move on to the second fly.
I got a question on where we're going steelhead fishing. I put Northeast Ohio, but
In the water. We will be fishing, hopefully, the Astabula, the Grand. There was talk about the Vermilion, but that's way out there. We got to drive a ways to get to there. So Tyler and I have a goal. If you look on Steelhead Alley Outfitters website, there's a map of the South Shore Lake Erie, and I believe there's 14 different rivers that flow in from basically. I mean, there's many more than that, but on this particular map, there's 14, and it's the Grand, the Vermilion, Chagrin, and then you get out towards New York area. There's Sandy, 20 Mile, and our goal is to catch a steelhead on at least one steelhead on every one of those rivers by 2025.
Ed and
So.
Sean both commented on the Chop Tank River.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to spin up number 2. It's going to be the same pattern, different material. I've got the same shank in there. I'm using, this is, I believe this is Semper Flies, classic waxed 6/0. This might even be 3/0 in a, I believe they call this tobacco brown, so it's kind of a dark brown color. So same deal, we're going to lay a little thread down. I got to cut another.
My comments aren't coming up anymore.
No, I got comments over here. Love my new Nor-vise, thanks. Well, good, we're glad you're happy. Alright, so here I cut another piece of 60 pound. Same steps as the first fly. Just going to put this on. I'm going to put a couple of loose wraps on there, and then I can manipulate this up on the top of the shank, and then I can set my length. And I got a little Sharpie mark on there that's getting worn out, so I'm going to put a new one on. And that looks good. Now I'll take some loose wraps. I told Patrick I was tying with the Badger tonight.
Nice.
So
If I could see a comment, I could see a
he was
comment.
like, "Cool."
I'd pulling them up on my phone because
Zoom in, somebody said.
I was on the far away.
Oh, you were on the big camera? Okay, there we go. We switched it.
Yeah.
Alright, clip those tips off. Then I'll put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on here. And we'll lay down a bit of thread base. Oh yeah, one other thing, and it's actually not on my whiteboard. I got asked today to tie on, if any of you are familiar with Steelhead 419, it's a Facebook group, and they contacted me yesterday, I guess it was, and asked me to tie, so I'll be tying on Steelhead 419 on Tuesday night.
Didn't Brittany tie on there a little bit?
She did tie on there a bit ago. And guess what I'm going to tie, because all the stuff is out sitting down over here, so I don't have to prep another pattern. But I'll probably do the Arctic Fox version.
You could. We got the other color. You could do some blue ones.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad thing to have in the box for the weekend.
Yeah, solid blue though. That's.
Yeah, do white for your first.
Well, these are in my box, brother. I don't know what your box. These are going in mine.
Your box is my box.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, do white for the wing, and then for the dubbing loop, do the blue.
All right, so I got a little bit of red laser dub. Spin the vise, touch the dubbing to the thread, and work that right on. I need a little bit more. It's so easy to put this dubbing on. I usually overshoot the runway and put too much on, but I definitely know I need more than that. And we'll pinch it and tighten it up. What are you doing?
Well, I pulled up Facebook in another window, and now I get comments.
You can see the comments? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird. Okay, so next step, I'm going to put the eyes on, and I'm going to put them on the right side of the shank this time, which is the underside. And we want to go to about the 1/3 mark. there any questions about that first pattern? No?
So what side of the shank do those go on?
They go on the bottom of the shank.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. At least I remembered the loop, because I did that the other day.
Oh yeah, when you're tying your trout space.
I tied one without the loop on it, but that's not as bad as somebody that I know that tied the bug on and fished for the better part of the morning, not realizing that there was no hook on the loop.
Looks like Brian Shoemaker caught some big smallmouth today.
Uh-oh. Hey, Shuey. I'm a
No, I'm on Instagram.
Oh, you're on Instagram? Okay, well.
That's Paul and then Silverio. It's time.
All right, Brian.
I'll inflate the raft when we get home.
Yeah, this will be our last trip out to fish for spring steelhead. All right, so this is it's a similar. I didn't have the Polymer Chenille in this color, this copper color. So this is Polar Reflector Flash Chenille. It's the same basic stuff. It's a super cool kind of brown copper color. I love this copper color. I love this for smallmouth. This is one of my favorite. This copper flashaboo, anything that's brown copper, especially in like tannic water, it really, really looks good. So I'll just cut a little bit off. This is a little bit longer than it needs to be, so I'm going to tie it in. Get that tied in there. Okay. Now, throw a half hitch. Get the half hitch over the eyes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to clip about half of this off, because it's a bit too long for what I need to do. And it doesn't have to be perfect, your cutting job. It's all going to wrap and it's all going to lay on there. But I got that one that's there that's messing everything up. There it goes. There we go. This doesn't quite lay as nice as the Polymer Chenille did. You can see it's wanting to kind of fight me a little bit. That, I don't know how they make that Polymer Chenille, but that stuff for palmering in this application is the best by far. It just lays when you get it tied in right. It just lays on there, and you can walk it right up the shank of the hook, and it's almost perfect every time.
Sean Maynard asked if you'll, when the fly's over, if you'll talk about how you put the hook in, because some people may not understand that.
Yep.
If they've never tried this style of fly.
Yep, I'll show how to do it.
Is that the Aquavale?
No, this is Polar Reflector Flash Chenille. It's similar to Aquavale. It's a lot of these materials are they're quite honestly, they're just not that different. I like that Polymer Chenille for the reasons that I just said. That they don't, it lays down nice. It gives you a real neat, nice, clean body, and you don't have to kind of mess with it and stroke it back a lot when you're tying it. This is fine. This stuff is great. I do really, really love this color, especially for this particular color fly that we're doing. But the Aquavale's good. Actually, you could use. Well, filler flash comes off of both sides of the material, doesn't it?
Filler flash, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that I don't. Sometimes those ones that come off of both sides, they don't look right when they wrap. I just don't like the way that they look. Okay, so now we're going to get our patch of badger hair. So this is going to be the same exact pattern, just in a different color with a different material. Now, this stuff, unlike the alpaca, this stuff has a ton of underfur in it. And if Patrick is on here, I don't know if it. Well, obviously it was winter when he trapped it, because that's when you trap in the winter. So I don't know if it was a quote unquote summer badger, if it would have this much underfur on it. But there is a ton of underfur. So this this stuff here we're not using. We want these large guard hairs that are on here. So I'm just going to put this down on my thigh here, and I'm going to get a pretty good sized clump, and I'm going to cut it off, and you can see, watch what happens. This is what we want. That's all under fur, and that I'm not going to use. I feel bad putting it in a wastebasket, but I don't, as of right now, have a use for it. And you need to cut a couple of these off, because it takes, what I've learned with this badger is you go through a lot of hair because of the fact that it's so thick and it has so much underfur on it. And we'll go maybe one more. Who was that guy across from us in Texas? The taxidermist, and they had Preddy. Okay, they had all that. Remember, Braden was tying with like bobcat and
like
yeah,
buffalo
and buffalo and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, that was crazy. Okay, so here's our wing, and you can see it gives you a super cool kind of white to almost black to tan. It's a really cool looking material here. So we'll go maybe a little bit longer. Go about right there. Now, one thing I learned last night: this stuff does not compress the way that the alpaca does. So you got to watch that your tie-in section doesn't bulk up too much, because you can see I'm pulling on that, and this stuff is not, it's not compacting at all. And I don't know if that's indicative of this type of hair. I have not tied with badger a lot, but I did notice it when I was working with this last night. So that's a pretty cool looking wing on there. Alright. Okay, so now we're going to go with a dubbing loop, and this is something that I noticed last night as well. When I was doing test ties with this, this portion did not go extremely well, this dubbing loop portion. And I think I know what the problem was, so hopefully I won't make a fool out of myself here in a minute. But if I do, I've made a fool out of myself before, and I'm sure that I'll do it again. No comment.
Oh no, Ed Hayes is asking about going steelhead fishing this weekend.
He can go. You're welcome, Ed. You're welcome.
I'm like, there's 3 beds in the couch. If you come up, I'll take the couch.
I can tell you who ain't sleeping on the couch. That would be me. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing, and we're going to pull this underfur out. And I'm just going to lay that there. And this stuff is not as full as the alpaca, so when you're doing this step, you need a little bit more. You're going to need a bit more material in your loop. It's a cool patch of hair, but man, there's a lot of underfur in here. Like, I have never seen underfur on animal hair like this before. Okay, I think that'll do. Okay. So now I'm going to take this, and I've got some wax, even though it's wax thread, I got some wax on there. And this, I will tell you, this stuff is not as friendly to work with as the alpaca was. But if it does what I want it to do, it's going to look really cool. Alright, so now we want these to be about half the length of the wing. And now we're just going to remember the last time I really took some time in getting this stuff all spread out. And any of the long ones, I'm going to pull them out. Just grab them, just pull them straight out. Okay, and I'm going to get my bodkin in here. And I'm going to distribute this stuff down. You don't really want any like big bulked up spots, because if you do, that's going to give you a problem when you go to wrap it. So you just keep kind of spreading this stuff out. First time you do this, it's a little intimidating when you're trying to manipulate materials in the dubbing loop, but after you do it a couple of times, it's not that bad. Okay, now just like before, we're going to very carefully, these are my good sharp ones, and we're going to come in here and we're going to cut these butt ends off. I'm not cutting this right up against the thread. I'm giving it a little space. You don't want too much because it'll bulk up underneath. Okay, so there's, hopefully I can do that without pulling it. There you can see the loop. So now I'm going to pinch it here at the bottom. I'm going to spin my dubbing twister. And I'm going to pull down. And I don't want to get any of that flash in there. And I'm going to spin. And I'm going to pull down. And spin and pull. And you can see this stuff makes a cool dubbing brush. This stuff it's definitely more rigid than the alpaca is, so you got to spin it up a little better, and then we'll just take, and you can see what I have there. I don't have to brush it out or anything, so it doesn't really like mat up on itself, but it is definitely more rigid, I guess is the best way that I can say it. And this is where I had a bit of a problem last night getting this stuff to wrap the way that I wanted it to wrap, because it kind of had a porcupine thing going. And we'll pull them back and give them a good pull back. Just kind of taking our time, working these fibers back. Okay. Okay. Now what I will do when I get done, if I run this under hot water, it'll take these hairs and it'll make them lay back against the body, so like that, more so of sticking out. So different different things that you have to do with different materials. So now we're going to finish this off with some spotted guinea. This is called tobacco brown. So it's a really deep brown and black color, really cool looking feather. This is one of my favorite colors that they have. Get this prepped up. There we go. And my hackle pliers. And I want to very carefully just take and fold this back just to get these fibers kind of started in the right direction.
And my comments came back on the regular page.
And of course I did.
Pull it out by the tip.
I did, yep.
Yeah. Nailed everything with the dubbing loop, and then it's the guinea.
Yeah, I know. Well, the dubbing loop, it's still that stuff. It's cool material. I don't know. I'm not totally convinced that the dubbing loop on this is the way to go. You could do a wing with it, kind of similar to the way you would do a deceiver. But I also want to get it in the water and find out what it's going to look like after you swim it. This must be 3/0 thread because this stuff is bulking up like crazy. Okay. And we'll just start wrapping. We'll get one behind the eyes. And then I'll hop over to the front. And we'll get a couple on the front. That feather was not quite as long as I thought it was. Alright. So, get this pushed back. And I'm going to have to put another feather on here. I thought I had actually plenty on this feather. And apparently not. Those 4 eyes are cool, but they're sometimes kind of tough to work around. Yeah, I'm not totally happy with that. That tie-in point with this stuff, because it doesn't compress, the tie-in point looks really big. It'll fish, but I want it to look better. I hope you can't hear my stomach growl.
I mean, I could. I don't know if the microphone could.
Okay, I think that'll save it. Stroke back here and I'll get this feather stem tied off. Yeah, that is definitely not 6/0 thread. That stuff is bulking up like nobody's business. Okay, let me get these picked out. And there you go. Nope, get out of there. Crowded the eye a little bit, but I can still get my tippet through there. This one looks way better than the alpaca. Really? Because I like the alpaca one better. Alright. Hit it with a little Solares. Bone dry.
Looks like you microwaved it.
I did, yeah. That worked great.
Like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
It comes out
that
good,
worked.
isn't it?
I was
That's
like,
actually exactly what they say.
this is never going to work, and it worked great. Okay, so there you go. 2 kind of nondescript swing bugs tied off the same platform, both kind of versions of, or maybe they have a little bit of artificial intelligence flavor to them. They definitely are not the artificial intelligence fly, but they've got some. They've got
Ed said, Tyler, tie some from me. You're an ambassador with shank jaws. Tie your own.
There you go. So there you
Show
go.
how you put the hook in.
I will. It needs a little training underwater, but you can see it's a cool pattern. That badger is it's a neat looking material, so it's something I want to spend a little more time with. So I don't know if Patrick's still on here or not, but hey, buddy, tell us if you think that'll catch a steelhead. All right, so let me get a piece of cut a piece of this off now. All right, so imagine that this is the loop that's coming off the end of your the back of your fly. So it would be coming this way, but I'm going to show it to you like this so it's easier for the camera to see. Okay. Would moose work? Moose, I think, would be way too stiff.
Maybe just the wing part, but not the
yeah, I don't know if you could do it in the dubbing loop. It would be worth a try, but moose is pretty. It's a pretty rigid material. Okay, so here's our hook, right, with our eye. And a lot of times, hooks that are particularly designed for swing bugs will have a bit of a bigger eye. So we're going to take the loop, and we're going to push it through.
A little lower.
I'll show it to you. Okay, so now I've got the loop is pushed through the eye of the hook. Okay, and then we're going to take it, and we're going to take the loop, and it's kind of tough to do it on the camera. Hold on a second. All right, we're going to open the loop up, and then we're going to push it. We're going to push the hook through. Okay, so we're going to push the hook through, and then we're going to pull this tight. And it's the same way that you do a handshake loop to loop connection on your fly line. Okay, and that's how you do it. And if you want to take it off, you just simply push this forward, right? Run it back off the point of the hook, and then pull it through, and then there's your loop, and you can change your hook out if you choose to. You can ride hook point up, you can ride hook point down. The fire line, I like the fire line because it's easy to work with. A lot of guys will use wire, and there's several different wires. I've used Beetalon on here before. There is a Greg Senyu makes a Intruder Wire. The wire is easier to get the hook on and off if you decide to change hooks. The challenge sometimes that I've found with the wire is if it gets a kink in it, it's hard to get the kink out. This stuff is easier to work with. If you catch a couple of fish, sometimes it will pull that thing so tight that it's almost impossible to get the hook out. So there's pluses and minuses to both of the different connection types. So I would say try them both for yourself and see which one you like.
So can you show the Alpaca Fly again? I'll switch to the other camera.
Yeah.
But a couple people missed it.
Which is the one I tied tonight? It's that one. Okay, so there's the fly, same fly, just different colors in alpaca. So it's alpaca for the wing, and then I did alpaca in a dubbing loop, and then in front of that I did the spotted guinea feather. So there is the fly with the alpaca fur, and then there is the second one that I tied with the badger. That badger in the dubbing loop, I got to spend a little more time with that. That's a little... It's not laying quite exactly the way that I want it to. This will fish. This will definitely catch a fish. No doubt. Smallmouth would smoke this thing.
Yeah, really.
But it's not quite what I'm looking for yet. But we're getting there. So same flies, two different materials, and then originally, typically, and again these are tied the same way I would tie it in Arctic Fox. So actually, there's the same pattern with three different materials for the wing and the dubbing loop.
Would those flies fish without the guinea?
Yeah, they would. I think the guinea looks better. And if you don't like the guinea, like we said earlier, a hen saddle would be good. But yeah, it would fish without. You could run the dubbing loop all the way up. You know, you can start it behind the eyes and run it up, you know, through the eye and then tie it off in front of the in front of the eyes behind the eye of the hook if you wanted to. Yeah, that would work fine. Beading wire from a craft store is cheap. It is cheap. Just be careful. If it's not stainless wire, it will rust on you. Not saying that you can't use it. Just make sure you leave your flies out at the end of the day. Let them dry. Don't put them wet back in your fly box because it'll rust, and anything else that's steel in that box will rust along with it.
Jim Benzinger said when the packet tip gets wet, it really comes alive and moves a lot with
Yeah,
the water.
yeah, and that's obvious when you go ahead and switch to the bigger camera. When you when you feel this stuff, and obviously it's on camera, you can't, but it's very light. It's got a lot of body to it, but when you tie it down like that tying point, it crunches right down and it doesn't bulk up.
It's like
And
fluffy.
I can see where in the water where this stuff would move like crazy, and it almost feels like it's got like a oil or like a coating on it. So I'm not sure that it would absorb a bunch of water. So I know Jim's on here. He can, you know, maybe chime in on that, but it's a cool material, and he has it in these what are called packet tips, which is this little, you know, square piece of hide with the hair on it, and then he has it in dubbing like you would dub, you know, dry fly bodies or nymph bodies, and he has it in the variety packs with different colors and stuff. So it's a cool material. So check it out, fiberfliesdubbing.com.
Jim said that no, as in no, that they won't absorb water.
Okay. Yeah, it has a it's got a feel to it. Almost feels it almost feels synthetic like, but it's not. It's a natural material, and it's fun to tie with. And I've got a couple of other applications that I'm going to play around with, but we're heading up to fish for steelhead this weekend coming. And these alpaca flies, I really want to put them in the water and see what they do. And if not, I'll leave some with Patrick, and he can tell us what to do or how they work.
So, when finished, do you cut the back of the shank down to the dubbing loop and then file it, or just leave the extra?
I just leave it, and I know people that do that. There's the fly and the back of the shank. It's only in the jaws by about 3/16 of an inch, and you can't see it. I used to do that, and a couple of times when I was cutting the back of the shank off, I actually cut the loop off of the fly by mistake, because you got all that stuff in there and you got to kind of spread it out and get your cutters down in there. So I don't even do it anymore. These aqua shanks, they're already cut, and they're kind of beveled on the edge, so they're not sharp. They're kind of deburred, so you can just tie on them and go. And that's another reason why we're really high on these aqua fly shanks. All right, anything else?
He said there is no lanolin on the animal, so.
Okay, because that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like it had lanolin on it or something.
No.
It's a super cool material, so I'm really excited to get these out on the water and see what they do.
So, yeah, we'll have a better chance to tell you what's going on with them once we get them wet. But.
Yeah. Jim Bensinger, I'll shut up now. Now, chime in, buddy. It's good material. We want to learn more about it. So, one other thing real quick that I just want to put out there. We've been getting a lot of messages and a lot that kind of struck a chord. It is, I talked about it a couple weeks ago. It was very simply the perfect storm of a ton of dealer orders and a ton of sales that we're very, very thankful for. And I could see the stock level, particularly on the vices, going down. And I knew that we were not going to be able to react fast enough. Bobbins, I wound about 120 bobbins today. I'm going to finish them tomorrow. Bobbins will be back up on the website probably on Tuesday. We have parts for the vices that are going to the subcontractor, the anodizer, and the laser engraver probably on Tuesday. So give us another couple of weeks and everything's going to be back in stock on the site. The shank jaws, in a million years, I never thought that we would sell the amount that we sold in a total of an hour and 15 minutes. Honestly, I thought we'd had 6 months worth of stock and they lasted an hour and 15 minutes. We're working on those. It's going to be a little bit longer before we get them up. The shop is extremely busy. I can't just take my parts and run them ahead of all of our other customers' parts. As much as I would like to, I just simply can't do that. So just bear with us. We're working on it. I know our sales reps are kind of, I don't want to say upset, but I know that they have shops that want to place orders. We've told them to all hold off. Just bear with us. We're working on it. We're working hard on it. We're going to get it taken care of. Give us another couple of weeks. And no, we are not going out of business. So if anybody saw that on Facebook, we absolutely are not going out of business. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
So we're at 147 shares. We need 3
All
more
right.
shares.
We're going to stay here until we get 3 more shares. So Alpaca Rod and Fly, that's our sponsor. They're giving away a $50 gift certificate for every 50 shares. They're up in Brewer, Maine. 207-299-6336, and they are on Facebook at Alpaca Rod and Fly. And another thing I wanted to mention, and we haven't talked about this for several weeks, the Nor-vise tires page is a Facebook page that is hosted and admin by a friend of ours, Mike Hawkins, down in Texas. It is a fantastic resource. It is not just limited to Nor-vise tires. Anybody that ties on any vise is welcome to come in and join the group. There is a lot of Nor-vise specific conversation that goes on there. Our ambassadors are on that site often. I'm on the site often. It is rare that somebody puts a question up there that they don't get an answer within about 30 minutes. So the ambassadors can answer questions on my behalf. And if they can't, they will tag me in the question, and then I'll see it pop up on my phone, and I'll hop on and answer. So check out, if you're not a member, check out the Nor-vise Tires page on Facebook. Great resource, and Mike does a fantastic job with that group. So check it out.
All right, we're up to 169 shares.
Oh, that was quick.
And I'm ready to go to bed.
That was quick.
So,
all right, guys.
That's 3 gift cards.
Let me see who's next week. Facebook Live info, Facebook Live schedule. What's today, the 28th?
Yes.
All right, so next week is Braden, but isn't he going to be down in Key West?
I don't know. Ask Casey.
Okay, well, Braden is on the schedule next week.
And I believe it's Saturday because we weren't doing it on Easter. I believe we planned that, and then we were going to chime in while he was doing the live to announce the winner.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because next Sunday's Easter. We were not doing a live event on Easter Sunday.
Okay, we will we will check on that. Like I said, this schedule was made months and months in advance. So on my schedule it's showing Braden. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case this coming week, but we will get it. We'll find out, and we will we'll get it posted up. So March Madness pictures going to be posted on Friday 5 o'clock. They're going to run Saturday till 5 o'clock. We'll try to hop on live Saturday from the Steelhead camp and announce the winner. Give Don up at Alpaca Rod and Fly a thank you for sponsoring this episode. Check out the Nor-vise Tires page, and if you're inclined, donate to Michelle's Project Healing Waters fundraiser for her birthday. And I think that about wraps it up. So if anybody has any questions, we'll hang out here for another minute or two, and if not, I'm going to go watch The Walking Dead. Jim Bensinger, can we talk this week? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we can talk this week, Jim.
Christopher Dugan, do we guide for spring shad?
Do you guide for spring shad? I don't guide, but if you want to come down and catch a shad, just get up with me and we'll take you and get you some shad. Message me if you guys are up here and you can't get on any steel. These are my stomping grounds. Appreciate that, Chris. We'll be okay, I think, but I appreciate the offer, and by all means, if we're struggling, we will definitely reach out. Thanks. Always interesting to watch. Thank you for joining us.
So, and have a good trip from Brian Davenport.
Mm-hmm. So, Brian Davenport's coming out. He's fishing with us next November.
He's been texting me about it like half of the time.
Oh, really?
Here.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Good.
I'm like, I got a 30-incher. That's a big one. She's like, oh, that's a baby out here. I'm
yeah,
like,
well.
But I can catch 10 of them in one day.
Yeah, we can fish for them out here. That's a baby, yeah. we got to go out there and get some of those true. We fish for sodium-free steelhead, and we need to go out and get some of those.
Starting to use that
Yeah,
one.
I actually
Yeah,
like
you
that.
like
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
When they get steelhead out there, we'll go down
yeah.
there.
Right, and you can fish for them. So.
So, all right.
All right,
Thanks,
guys. Thank you very much. We'll check in with you, and somebody will be tying here next week.
All right.
Thank you.